Hi, this is Julie at Love's Beginning, and I've been gone for a little while. I just wanted to say it's been so nice to say nothing, and it's also so nice to say something. So I feel that they're equal, and that's very, very nice for me. It's the sense of obligation or doing something that comes from writing this or allowing it to come through me is not really there so much. It's it's just I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it, and I don't necessarily know ahead of time, and it's good. It's all good. So this is where I am, and I hope you are in a good place. And I have to laugh when I talk about being in a good place, because the way we get to the good place is by allowing all our disturbance to surface. So I was thinking yesterday it'd be a funny cartoon, for the so-called spiritual person to say how well everything's going. But really, in the second before, they've just experienced the worst thing ever emotionally. I feel we're used to this. We're used to this processing. We're used to like the clearing and the cleansing and the healing. And when it comes up, it's not even something to complain about anymore. It's just really obvious that we're flushing out these old habituated patterns. We're just letting them go, and it's not a bad thing. That said, my break here wasn't really all that. It's just that has become a very accepted part of life, to allow all that stuff to surface, and to just see it as normal. So now when I see people are upset, I didn't think I was going to go into this long explanation, but here it is anyhow. I sometimes will think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Because I'm not upset. I'm not upset that anybody's upset. I know if they're upset, they're getting an opportunity. And if I feel any anxiety about it, my mind is always touching theirs and I'm not helping them. And so I gotta go to that calm space, and not to a fix-it space. A fix-it space insists something is wrong. But when somebody's in the midst of healing, you can't be in the fix-it space and be sane. So just that invitation to quiet is the invitation to quiet all the time. And it is so helpful just to have that. It's so helpful that it doesn't matter if I write or if I don't write. So, that said, here is today's message. All barriers are imaginary. Perception as you know it, perception of the five senses, is a distortion. A life built upon the experience of the five senses and judgments about it must be dissatisfying. There is no way around this. There is no satisfaction in distortion, and it will never be felt. You can deliver to yourself temporary experiences of being satisfied, but they can only be temporary. Nothing can substitute for the fulfillment of truth, of what you are. Until you allow what you are to guide every aspect of your embodied life, you will feel like a cat on a hot tin roof. Let us explain why we have used this cat example. Watch the activity of the mind. When you prance from judgment to judgment, all in an effort to resolve something internally, you are jumping from the same burning hot foundation and landing on it again. There is no comfort there, but you keep seeking comfort by returning to the same thing that doesn't work. This is the definition of insanity. You are so accustomed to thinking this foundation of time and space is all there is, that you don't even question the foundation that you keep landing upon, the basis that you use for your judgments. How can you rely upon and judge the data that come to you from distortion, from leaping about on this roof, from prancing from judgment to judgment? You cannot. This is why you experience a feeling of disturbance in your life. It is this, and no other reason. You may pick some phenomenal reason for your disquiet, and indeed you do every day at one time or another. But that is just you landing upon the same roof. So how can this leaping and prancing pattern be broken? It is being broken by all of you, intentionally, with our assistance. You break the pattern of prancing on the roof by allowing yourself to see that the roof is imaginary. Within this little imaginary shack is a light so bright, and it has always been there. Seeing that the roof is imaginary and insignificant, you allow yourself to return to that light, so the roof is no longer a barrier and no longer a reference point. The hot roof is no longer a basis for making judgments because you have never needed them. When you are all the power that is, and you always have been, you have no need of judgments to guide your way. The distortion you intentionally experience is a life based upon repeated leaps and bounds off the surface of this imaginary roof. The distortion represents a choice to see things as they aren't, and that choice is always yours. You are all the power that ever was and that ever shall be. The only way you could experience an illusion is through your choice. This is why victimhood is possible, although the desire to escape through the experience of victimhood this is why victimhood is impossible, although the desire to escape through the experience of victimhood or through experiencing the role of victimizer is possible. What do you escape from? You escape from the knowledge of who you truly are. If you remember fully who you truly are, how loved you are, how loved everyone is, you lose the basis for hanging on to distortion. You have become habituated to distortion and cling to it, mistaking its repetitiveness for comfort, stability, and security. As you are waking up, you learn to see the light as a new basis, and this seeing becomes the means for the collective release of distorted perception. All experienced here is imagined. All takes place in mind. The physical takes place in mind. Time and space take place in mind. This means that everything experienced is very, very flexible, but there is fear around the idea of its flexibility. Ego seeks sameness, rigidity, control, and comfort at the same time it relies upon chaos. Ego relies upon the chaos of illusion, but tells you to build up defenses against figments. All the while, you are steadily defending against love. Don't fight to make stability in an imaginary world. Simply allow the light you are to gently clear the distortion by seeing it in all others, in every situation. You do this by allowing yourself to see that you always reside within the light, and that any bouncing off of roofs is imaginary. Not being able to trust the five senses, what can you trust? Who can be your guide in this strange and chaotic land of illusion pretending to be real? You, of course. True you. The you that is us too. Keep that reference point steady in your awareness, and you will see that it is not a reference point at all. For there to be a reference point, there has to be an other, someone looking at the reference point from somewhere else. As you keep the light you are steady in your awareness, the idea of a false you, looking at the light from somewhere else, dissolves. As the idea of a false you dissolves, the guidance that is always there for you becomes very simple and obvious. We honor and love you as we honor and love ourselves, because there is only one of us. And the one of us has always been love. We delight in what we are, and that is our eternal celebration. Thanks for listening.